Welcome to this video where I'm going to give you my 5 tips on how to improve your airbrushing. Number 5, check your distance. And by that I mean make sure that you're the correct distance away from what you are spraying. So if you want to do something more like priming, where it takes a lot more paint and a lot more pressure, then you need to move away from the subject a little bit more to give enough distance so that the amount of paint going down can give you a nice smooth and even finish. If you get too close, you will flood the paint on, and if you're too far back, you'll get a dusty finish. Similarly, if you want to do some tight work, as in freehand camouflage and mottling for instance, you'll want the pressure to be lower and the paint will be a lot thinner, so therefore you'll need to get a bit closer to the subject in order to get the tight patterns that you want. This can take a bit more practice to get right, but thin paint, low pressure and getting really tight to the model can give you some great results for getting fine lines, freehand camouflage and mottling. If with a primer coat and you get too close and you flood it, you'll get a problem known as spiderwebbing, which is when the paint floods on and it gives you a kind of spiderweb effect. So as with all of these techniques, if in doubt, try it on a scrap piece of paper, a model, some plastic spoons or something that you're not going to worry too much about to practice the techniques, and you'll definitely get the feel of it after a few practice sessions. Number 4, choose the right paint for the job. This fleshes out part of what I was just saying regarding the distance from the subject that you're painting, as some paints make certain techniques a lot harder than others. If you want to do tight camo work or mottling with acrylics, you may get more of a feathered edge or overspray than if you use lacquer paint. Equally, you will get better results priming if you use a paint specifically designed for priming, rather than using a normal paint. The topic of paint could be a whole video in itself, but all I mean by this point is if you have trouble getting the results that you're after with a certain type of paint, don't be scared to move to a different type. Certainly I've found that moving from acrylics over to lacquers or lacquer-based paint has dramatically improved my results when I've come to do mottling and freehand camouflage. So don't be scared to change things up. Number 3, use the right needle size. As with choosing the right paint, the needle size in your airbrush can affect the results you'll get. For too many years I was using a 0.5 needle for everything, and as good as it was for putting down single colours, base coats, priming etc, it was extremely difficult when it comes to trying to do any type of freehand camouflage, mottling and any tight paint work. This is due to the fact that there's a lot more paint coming out from the nozzle because it's got a larger nozzle, larger needle size, therefore more paint can come out at once. When I switched to an airbrush with a 0.2 needle, the whole process of freehand camouflage was instantly easier, more enjoyable and more effective. The basic idea is a higher needle size gives you a lot more paint, which is good for coverage and smoothness of paint, ideal for priming, base coats and varnishing etc. A smaller needle size gives you a lot less paint, more control, and it's fantastic for mottling, painting patterns freehand and working in tight areas. Number 2, keep your airbrush clean. Your airbrush is a tool, it has working parts and it needs maintenance. You should keep your airbrush as clean as you can. This will reduce clogging and improve its performance. Using thinners or airbrush cleaner is an easy way to blow through the paint after each session. I always leave my needle out of the airbrush after I finish my painting session and strip it clean regularly depending on the amount of use. This ensures that when I come back to my airbrush it's ready to go, I'm not going to have any problems with clogging, it's not going to affect the performance of the paint, and overall it's just going to make the whole process a lot easier. Number 1, and this is the big one, thin your paint. If your airbrush is clean and unclogged, you'll be able to trace any other problems back to the thinness of your paint. If in doubt, thin it a bit more. Generally, if you are getting spitting or poor performance, you just need to thin the paint down more. If you thin it too much, you may find you get poor coverage or spiderwebbing, as was mentioned before. And you just need to add a little more paint. You just need to practice a little bit, and it's best to even do that before you actually commit to the model. So if you're going to do some mottling and you've got your airbrush loaded up, it might be worth just trying on a few bits of plastic cards, some plastic spoons, like I mentioned before, a scrap model, just to get your eye in before you actually take it to the model. You don't want to ruin your favourite model just by testing new techniques on it. As I've mentioned before in this video, the thinner the paint and the lower the pressure, the easier it's going to be when it comes to doing freehand and tight work. And these things go hand in hand, so if you've got a heavier paint or a heavier pigment, you're going to need to raise the air pressure, and it's going to be a thicker consistency, so you need more air pressure to blow the paint out. If you've got very thin paint, you're going to want to reduce the pressure and get closer to the model. It's a delicate balance, but once you've worked out the perfect ratio for thinners to paint and to air pressure, you'll be well on the way to improving your airbrushing. So that brings this video with my top 5 tips on how to improve your airbrushing to an end. If you've got any additional tips or want to make a comment based on any of my tips I've put in this video, please let me know in the comments below. And if you've liked what you've seen, please consider subscribing to this channel and liking the video. If you want to support the channel by Patreon or PayPal, there's links in the description below where you can do that, and it would be very much appreciated for the channel. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.